Welcome, everybody. My name's Dennis. I'm the founder and managing director of FitRec. And with me today, I have Carol and Trudi Edmedes from Third Age Fitness. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you, Dennis.
Carol and Trudi have although it's got Trudi's name on it, put together an article for our recent issue of Raising the Bar on the effects of lockdown on balance in older adults. But before we go into that, would you be able to give me some background on Third Age Fitness and what you're doing and how you got into it?
Well, I'll go first. I've been exercising all my life and instructing, and so it was a natural progression for me to move into older adults teaching, and so I have been doing that for a long, long time. I'm not going to tell you how long I've been doing that for, but it is a long time. So what's happened is I was the younger person teaching the older adult, and now I am the older adult. So I bring the huge practical experience of what happens to an older adult as they age. And Trudi is the younger person that is explaining all that, even though she's got a lot of experience in the industry too.
Yes, I've been teaching about 12 years now, and so always focused on older adults. That's who we love. So we've always been, well, for the last, well, how long you've been? Okay, we're not talking about decades or years with Carol. But yeah, so I've always specialised in older adults, and I love working with that population. They're just a beautiful, special population. So then over the last few years, we've just developed our courses and wanted to share all that we've learned, especially Carol, who has seen so many changes in the industry and learned so much just through the thousands and thousands of classes she has taught, and also the instructors that she's trained and been mentoring for years and years. We just thought, let's try and package all the gold that is in Carol's brain and try and share that with as many people as we can, and share our love of older adults with others, and try and get some people over to our side working with older adults.
Well, it certainly seems to be a growing market. Is that something that you're experiencing? Is there more and more attention being given to exercise and activity for older adults?
Yes, there definitely is. One of our passions is to change the misconception that not only people but instructors have of older adults. I've spoken to many instructors that even, I'll give you an example, an instructor who'd been instructing for about 25, 30 years in the industry asked me, can an older adult walk backwards? Now, that is showing that even
the answer is yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes, just in case you were wondering.
Yeah, I knew that.
Oh, you knew that. Oh, thank you. But that is the huge misconception about what they can do. Given all things are normal and natural, some people just don't recognise that an older adult can actually jump up and down. And
I think Carol had someone last week saying, "Oh, I'd never do lunges," and this is an instructor, and we're just like, "You don't do lunges in your classes?" And she's been teaching older adults for 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do for leg strength? She thought, "Oh no, they're too dangerous." Whereas I do lunges in every single one of my classes. I think some variation. So there's still so much
misconception.
Yeah, and we really want to be pushing older adult participants as well as instructors past those sort of expectations or fears and concerns. If obviously we're all about safe training and creating a safe environment, and also providing all the technique for instructors so that they can be confident that they are teaching correctly. And also we always do variations and adaptations, because if you do work with older adults, you know it's all about adapting, because if you have 5 people in class, then you will have 5 different, you might have a hip replacement, you've got a pacemaker, you've got someone with, plantar fasciitis, you've got something, everything. So you always vertigo, can't go on the floor, always adaptations. So we always include those in our courses and our training as well. So it's just working with those considerations that we definitely encourage, but everything almost everything is possible, and definitely worth a go anyway in your classes and see how it goes.
Right. So would
Yeah,
you say that?
I think what you said, it's not working necessarily with limitations, it's working with the variety that we can give the participants to get the same functional workout, just doing it a slightly different way.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So do you think that a lot of instructors might be lowballing a bit with the older population? They could be going harder, working them harder in that sense.
Most definitely, Dennis. I mean, I am what I do in my classes. We do step, we do hit, we do every variety of workout, and then you leave it up to the participant to take it to their level.
Gotcha.
And they do that mostly automatically, and you can then encourage them, but we try not to cut out, oh, they can't do that move, or there's one person who's got this wrong with them, so I won't do this move. We try and get as many people over the line, and this is, as we were saying, bring all the safety things in, but I think a lot of instructors go in way too low.
And if there's variations, like we can have a side tap, or if you're doing sort of an aerobics thing, or a jumping jack. So we'll usually start at the higher jumping jack and say, okay, your option, if you want a little less intense, is this. So some people might assume that you start at the lower level, and then you might be able to push up, where we tend to start at the higher level and give easier options. So that sort of thing where we want to keep pushing our older adults to. We definitely want to maintain, but we're still saying, no, you can get stronger. You might be 70, you might be 80, you might have just started your first fitness class, but we're going to push that, and we're going to improve and build on your strength, not just like, oh, well, let's see how we go just to protect your body for the rest of your life. We're sort of like, no, let's go challenge, let's push, and let's see what we can do.
Yeah, I'm more probably passionate maybe than Trudi about this, but I really want to change the whole industry on how they think about older adults, because in a lot of fitness centres, the older adults are pushed to like afternoon time slots. They're pushed to rooms. I've even spoken to centre coordinators who put older adults in rooms downstairs because they don't feel they can walk up the stairs. Now, that is a whole industry thing that is, I'd like to change it.
Ready for change.
Ready for change.
How much of this, though, comes from the older adult themselves? Because when you're talking about people who are in their 70s and 80s, or even closer to our age, you get to the point where there would be people that don't believe that fitness is for them, or weights are not for them, or that sort of thing is not for them. Do we need to change perceptions within the community as well as within the instructors?
Yeah, I think so. But I think that comes mainly from the instructor, because the encouragement you give them, and you actually teach them how to progress. This is what a lot of probably the general public, and if they're coming to a class, they're not sure how to progress. So that's where the instructor can do so much encouragement work and help them out that way, because quite often you're right that they don't know what they're capable of.
Yeah.
Trudi had an example, didn't you, in class with jumping? Remember?
Yeah, I did a replacement for a regular class, and I went in, and it was a chair-based class, but we do some standing exercises behind the chair, and I didn't know what their levels were, so I just went in with my usual enthusiasm, and I had just did jumping in and out behind the chair, hands on the chair, just jumping out, and so relying on the chair as much or as little as the person wanted to. And I said, come on, give it a go. And you could sort of see people go, ooh, huh? And I said, just give it a go, just do one, and then we'll just take it really slow. I said, you can do your step out, and then step in, start there. Anyway, we kept on going, and everyone eventually got jumping in and out. And afterwards, a lady came up to me, she must have been 85 or so, and she goes, I can't believe that I just did that. And I said, what did you do? She just jumped. She said, I haven't jumped in 20 years. I didn't know I could still do it. And I said, oh, that's fantastic.
Wow.
I said, how do you feel? She goes, this is fantastic. So she was just like, because she hadn't tried it. And because it's not necessarily something that, you think, oh, today I might try and see if I can jump. So
Yeah.
if we create that safe environment where people can have a go, give them options, always give them options, but just create a safe space and just try a new exercise. And also, like you said, is it the instructor or sort of the older adult participant? I think when instructors provide that space and provide a positive experience for people in class, those people will tell their friends. They'll say, oh, come along to class, we try different things, you'll be fine, you'll be able to just try something, or so it is that sort of word of mouth, but it starts from that, creating that safe environment that the instructor provides, and that fun place to try new things and have a go, and no one's gonna laugh at each other if people are like, oh, that's not really a jump yet, or something like that. So I think the instructor can start that and create an environment and that sort of thing where the message then spreads and people can be a part of it.
Yeah, and I had last week also, I did a presentation on balance, and I do a lot of practical stuff with that, and a man came up to me at the end and he said, it's so refreshing to hear somebody say that older adults can actually do these things, encourage you to do these things, and in other words, because you're an older adult, you're not wiped off the planet, basically, and not important. And he said, it's just so refreshing to hear somebody say that. So that comes from the instructors, and
And I get participants saying, "Oh, you know how old I am, don't you?" I'm just like, yeah, I don't really care.
well,
in a good way. I'm just like, age is just a number. Like it doesn't determine what you can or can't do. But people are just like, remember, we're old. I'm just like, no. I said, let's get going. We're going to do 10 more of these. And they always can do it. They always get better at it. They're always getting stronger, and they always love it. And so absolutely, they think, oh, I can't do that. But you encourage them, and you'll often find that they absolutely can.
Yeah, that's magnificent. And if someone, and we will get to your article in a second, but if someone wants to get into...
We can talk about older adults and anything you want for as long as you want.
If someone was wanting to get into teaching older adults in their particular community, like where do you find, do people start their own classes, or is this a part of a council run thing, or is it going into retirement villages, or how does someone get into this sort of space, taking classes for the older population?
Well,
yes,
they with the qualifications side, they of course need to have at minimum Cert 3. Then because the courses don't provide a lot on older adults, particularly the practicalities.
The Cert 3-4.
The Cert 3-4 doesn't. It leaves a huge gap between doing the course and actually going into classes. There is so many things that you have to know with older adults, like you've got your standing active classes, your chair-based classes, your balance. There is such a variety of things you have to know. So they need to get the unit, or the older adult unit. I know the centre that I'm with, they have to have that to teach older adults. I can't speak for other centres, but I think it'd be very wise for them to do it.
Sorry, the older adult unit, is that a specific part of the Cert 3, or is that
there is a part of Cert 3 that does cover older adults, but it doesn't cover the practicalities of actually teaching a class.
And is there a separate certificate you're referring to that they need?
Yep. Well, in my centre, I'm talking about a certificate, that they do, and that's one of our courses comes under that. That gives them the qualification to actually teach older adults. As I said, I don't know in other centres.
So we would obviously say that you should always have done an older adults course,
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
it's one of ours or there's a couple of others on the market. But yeah, before you go in, because it is very different, and also because just to manage those expectations,
Yeah.
if you're just coming out from your Cert 3,
Yeah.
even like we've had people who've just come out and gone into the gym and they've been looking at like designing a program for an older adult, and they'll pick up, you know, sort of 2.5 kilo weights to start with. Whereas we might say, oh, that might not be a starting level for a 75-year-old who's the first time in the gym. So even just understanding those sorts of practicalities, we would definitely encourage people to sign up to an older adult specific course.
Yep.
And just to become aware of the things, because like I said, you know, if there's replacements or they're coming back from heart attacks and things like that, just some of those awareness, those questions and things to be looking out for. If you actually want to start teaching, you know, fitness centres are slowly getting on board with having a older adults program. Some still don't have them. But yeah, community centres, talk to your council or community centres. There's more and more classes popping up. Even places like the Heart Foundation, you know, those sorts of organisations, they're starting to run classes as well. So there's lots of different avenues if you want to start your own one independently, or if you want to come under an organisation umbrella to do older adults teaching.
Yeah, I think also as an industry, Dennis, it really is important that people do get that additional qualification for older adults.
I was just looking at the courses that you have available. So there's we've got a number on the FitRec website, Introduction to Working with Older Adults. Is that where people would start? There's also an Older Adult Fitness Level 1. Like, where would someone start with the third age courses?
The intro to working with older adults is all sort of more theory based to get that understanding of, it goes through sort of all the physical changes, physiological changes for older adults. So just getting that understanding of what is happening for an older adult and their body. And so that's a great one to start with, I think, to get that understanding, and also working with older adults around communication and language, those sorts of things that you just wouldn't probably think about otherwise. So that is a great foundation. Our older adult level 1 fitness class or workshop is very, very practical. If that's a great sort of all-encompassing. It includes the intro theory. It also gives you an understanding of musicality and also freestyle aerobics. It touches on chair-based aerobics as well. So that is a really fantastic foundation. If people just like, I'm going to do one course, I'm going to cover up as many bases as I can. That's the one that includes mentoring sessions with Carol as well. It's highly practical, and you'll start to learn how to build your own class. So if you were going to be independent and running your own classes, then that would be definitely, if you're just going to do one course, we would definitely recommend that. That is the one hit wonder. That includes it all. But if you just want to start with sort of introducing different aspects, or just if you've got just running, you feel like you've already got a reasonable foundation for what you can teach, then we've got sort of the specialties, the balance training course, mobility exercises if you're working with older populations, sort of in aged care. We've got resistance bands that can be for older adults or for any age group as well. So we've got a few other specialties as well.
Yeah, I noticed those in there, the chair-based balance training mobility bundle. Yeah, it all looks fantastic. So for anyone that wants to really jump in and get started, the older adult fitness level 1 is a great place to start. Now, before we go any further down that rabbit hole, I'm going to say, let's go look at the article on the effects of lockdown on balance in older adults. So where does this come from? Like, how is it that you have this information that people are suffering balance issues?
Well, because we're in Melbourne, so we had almost 2 years of lockdown. And when we came back to class, every time I did a balance exercise after people started coming out of lockdown, they're just like, oh my gosh, my balance is terrible. And I said, really? And nearly 8 out of 10 people said, I can't believe my balance has deteriorated so badly.
Right.
And so we just started talking about it and thinking about it, and just it totally makes sense that if you're not out and about using escalators or getting in and out of cars or going to new environments, then all these things that just sort of that everyday balance, you're also not going to your exercise classes and doing your training. And so because balance naturally deteriorates as we age, if you're not doing anything specifically consciously to fight against that natural progression, then it's naturally just going to deteriorate. So we saw that deterioration happen in so many of our participants during lockdown. So now we're trying really hard to build it back up to where it was, and then try and improve it and try and get ahead of the curve as much as we can.
I remember back in university hearing about how if somebody does take a fall and break a hip, there's an extraordinarily high percentage of those people would like pass away within the next 6 months. It was a pretty disturbing type of figure. So there's probably there's an enormous, it certainly makes me think seriously about balance and, you know, making sure that we work, like I'm working on it as we get older. And I think a lot of people in the fitness industry are pretty good at doing that, but obviously general population are not as switched on to, you know, really working on that balance and that strength as they get older, and especially during periods where we're not having that coaching. You did include some balance exercises in that article. Can you just go into a little bit more detail on the difference between the static, the moving, and the traveling balance tips?
Sure. So there's just different kinds of balance exercises. So the static one is where you simply hold a position and you just work on your balance. So that's just, and often we'll add in the extra challenge on those static exercises to close your eyes. So you're just taking away one of those senses that your body uses to stay upright. We just remove that extra one and make it a little more challenging. So then it's just your body trying to become aware of where it is, and so like in the article we just did a calf raise. So just up onto your toes and hold that. So that's that static one. Then we've got a moving one where the challenge is you're changing that center of gravity. So whether it's your legs moving or your arms moving, during the exercise, you're changing the center of gravity, and so your body is having to adjust and compensate continually to maintain the balance. So that's just a different way of challenging the body. Then the third one is our moving, where we might be walking and we might just be turning their head side to side or looking in different places or bending down as we're moving and traveling. So that's just another different variety where your legs are going and it's sort of almost multitasking as we're trying to maintain our balance. So we're moving forward, we're moving arms and legs and maybe even the head as well, and your body's taking in a lot of different senses and different information, and it's having to keep on adjusting and processing to maintain that balance. So just 3 different levels. All of them have different challenges. There's not necessarily one that's easier than the other. So it's just to keep that variety and to keep challenging the body and the brain in different ways to overcome and improve the balance.
Okay, and would you use these in every session or intermittently?
I use them in every class, especially now post-lockdown where balance is a real problem. I throw in balance exercises, yeah, I would say definitely every class. So whether it's a circuit class and I'll do a station, a balance exercise, a station, a balance exercise, or I might do my whole circuit and say, all right, everyone in the middle, and we'll do 5 minutes of all different balance exercises. Sometimes it's part of a cool down, and I'll just add them in. Sometimes my classes run a little short and I'm just like, oh, I've got 2 minutes, let's do some balance exercises. So there's so many ways you can do it. You can incorporate weights, so it could be part of your resistance training that you might be doing your bicep curls, but you might be up on your toes while you're doing it. So you're balancing, and that's sort of more an advanced move. You can always start there, because there's a few different things going on. But you know, if you've got a class that are experienced with good technique and that sort of thing, you can start incorporating and merging those balance exercises with your normal strength training. So also cardio bursts then into a balance exercise is another way to throw the body. So if you're doing fast feet or jumping jacks, then you go, all right, up on your toes, close your eyes. Then people just like, whoa, what are you doing? So there's just 100 ways you can include balance exercises, whether it's just 1 or 2 each week, or just like, okay, we're working balance today. Because if you start doing, you know, knee lifts and squats and balance, those positions, arms out, you're actually getting a full body workout. You're still strengthening those legs. Add in some arm moves and you're getting the full workout as well. So easy exercise. There's definitely different ways you can increase the strength and the resistance in those balance exercises to make it still a good workout.
So Have you got any really good news stories that have come out of working on balance as a final, as a final word to help get everyone thinking about balance?
Well, we have like people now who said that they, as funny as it sounds, but this is just something that even I'm learning for older adults, that they can get up and out of bed just in like a smooth move. They used to have to sit up in bed and then get their balance. You might not think it, but you to sit up, you need your balance, and then swing the legs over, and then they would stop there, and then they would slowly rise up, and then they would stop there. And so it might take a minute or two to get out of bed, but we've got people. I had a participant come and say that was the greatest. They had exciting news because they could get out of bed in one move and not, need to cling onto the wall or something as they got up. So those sorts of practical things is what we're all about. I've had people, say that we've improved their golf swing, but it wasn't balance related. So, yeah. So, and we see people in class that they get better when they practice their balance. So we would say if you can have balance exercises at least twice a week, put them into your classes, and encourage your participants to do it at home as well.
Yeah, and just remembering that balance is a learned skill.
Yeah.
I was just thinking this.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is a learned skill. Yes, you do have your days where you're a bit off, but it definitely is a learned skill. So, I mean, myself, I'm doing balance exercises every day, and that's not because I'm teaching. It's just because I do them every day. When I'm standing I have a standing workstation. I'll stand on one leg, balance. I know that probably sounds a bit abnormal, but I'm just saying you don't have to literally do a balance exercise in a class.
Yeah.
That's where we can practically teach participants, okay, well, you can do this at home and work on your balance all the time.
Yeah, I feel like the big takeaway is the fact that nothing is set in stone. You can improve your balance, or you can improve your strength, and you can improve in a variety of different ways with the application of the training and the right instruction from the fitness leader. Thank you very much, Carol and Trudi, for the chat today. I really appreciate it. As you said, if anyone is interested in getting into exercise with older adults, the older adult fitness level 1 is a very good place to start. I'll include a link to all of the third age fitness articles in the blurb underneath the video. And also a link to your article on raising the bar, which was fantastic and has been very well received. Thank you again. It's been a pleasure talking, and I hope we get to chat again soon.
Love to.
Thanks, Dennis.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Cheers.